Lovely.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you for gathering together today. Thank you for being together in this space, both in person and we have a number online today. So lovely to see so many folks come to this space and gather around this family as we celebrate a life lived well, a life lived vibrantly, a life lived with adventure and hope and so much more that I know you will share with me today and with the family. And I give thanks. I give thanks for the honor to be present with you all and to celebrate this life of Marjorie Wilson Burriack. It is good to gather. It is good to mourn, to celebrate, to share our memories and our love. I'm the Reverend Abby Gackenheimer, the pastor of this church, the pastor of Sue and Marjorie. And as I said, it's an honor to be present with you all this day as we celebrate the life of Marjorie. After services today, my prayer is that you will join us over in the Friendship Hall for food and fellowship and a time to continue this storytelling and memory sharing and a time to give hugs, time to laugh, a time to cry. And it is air conditioned over there, so it's a beautiful, wonderful place to gather together. But please join us afterwards over in the hall. It is really an important part of this service to be together in that space. A human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born. It is sacred in its living. And it's sacred in its dying. Today, we light this candle, being reminded that in all points in our life, the light is present. The spark continues to be present among us. God's love continues to surround us. Let this be a reminder throughout the service today of light and love that is Marjorie. Death has gathered us here for the end of Marjorie's life. Let us not just mourn, though mourn we must, for we suffer a great loss. Let us also remember that life that Marjorie lived. And more than remember, let us affirm and celebrate that life as an expression through life and love of a divine impulse. Today we grieve Marjorie's death, but we must also celebrate Marjorie's life. Though our grief is strong and we must mourn, we will not let the shadow of death obscure the living person who touched our hearts in many ways, filling our lives with memories, meaning, and love. So let us be wise enough and let us be brave enough this morning, this afternoon, to honestly remember and bravely celebrate a human life, the life of Marjorie. So we have come together, and it is good that we have come together because we need each other in empathy and consolation, and because we need each other in courage and wisdom to face Marjorie's death, to celebrate Marjorie's life, and to show our love and support for Marjorie's family. Those who knew Marjorie best and loved her the most, it is good, right, and fitting that we have come together because a human life is sacred in its being born, in its living, and also in its dying. Please join with me in a moment of prayer. God of grace and tender mercies, be with us and bless us gathered here. The curtain of death has fallen between us and one we love. Give us the strength and the wisdom we need for this hour, the strength to face and to endure our enormous loss, and the wisdom to rise above our grief and find ample thanksgiving for Marjorie's life. God, who gives us life and receives us when our life is over, keep us and comfort us now. Your goodness is our strength. Your purpose is our hope. May our confidence in your goodness and our faith in your purpose be unwavering. And may our words be true to your glory and to your creation this day and forevermore. And together we say, Amen.
Amen.
As the family was helping me plan and prepare for today, I got a call from Stu with some suggestions. And then as we came together on Zoom, because that's the way we do a lot of the things anymore, they were talking about Marjorie and who she was. And Stu offered up this beautiful song, For the Beauty of the Earth, that speaks of a life lived within this creation, in this space in which we get to celebrate. So I invite you to join with me in singing For the Beauty of the Earth. You'll find it in your bulletin. We will sing verses 1 through 3 and 5. I invite you to stand if you're comfortably able in body or spirit. As you're seated, I invite you to join with me in our responsive psalter today, Psalm 23. I invite you to read the bold. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. As I offer you these words today, I invite you to start thinking of your own memories that you would like to celebrate and share today during this service. Of course, as I said before, we'll have more time to do that over there. But I know there's a few of you that would like to share with the family here in this space. The easiest way for everyone to hear it will be to come up here to the mic. However, we do have a handheld. So do we know if anybody in the space would like to use a handheld so we can get that ready? Well, Alan will be back there if we need that space. But we do need to speak into the mic so that we can share it with those who are on Zoom today. I only knew Marjorie for a little while. But there's something special about Marjorie that you know and experience as soon as you meet her. Minus the fact that you have to take your mask down and you have to talk very clearly, and she did such a good job saying, "Can't hear you." And then you repeat, right? But then she'd share. She would share, and she would just share so much. And so even though I only knew her for 7 months, and really a shorter time than that because we had a little accident in December, and I didn't get to meet her quite as quickly as I would have liked, you get to know a lot about her and her spirit. And the love that she just overflowed with for Stu, and the worries that she had for Stu. And so for me, it's an honor to be present with you and offer these words. Most of them are not going to be my own, but your all that have been shared with me. But I know that we have family who is going to step up here and share so much more, and I give great thanks for that. So I offer you these words today. A human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born. It is sacred in its living. And it is sacred in its dying. Sorrow and joy of life weave a tapestry of our individual lives as death gathers us once again in a blessed community. We gather today to bid one we have known and loved farewell. We gather together to seek comfort and healing, but most of all, we gather together to say yes to life's greatest expression, love. For love believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. The Psalms sing of this love, a love that guides us to green pastures and beside still waters, a love that overflows and quenches the deepest of thirsts as it restores the soul, a love that walks with us, stays with us, never leaves us even as we wander in our own valleys of despair. A love that shines forth from the mountaintops as heaven and earth come together in celebration. A love that protects and keeps us. A love that even in the face of death and despair comforts and assures with the words, "I will never leave you." We gather together as a people loved by a God who names us at the beginning of our life as well as at our end. We were created in love, and in love we are called home into God's eternal embrace. We hear this affirmation in the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew as he reminds his disciples of the many blessings found in the embrace of God's love. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Today we gather together to find that comfort as we share in the life and love of Marjorie, the life and love that Marjorie brought into this world. I was gifted an opportunity this past week to gather with some of Marge's family. We had Stu and Jillian and Stephanie and Rich all on Zoom. And we gathered together to plan the services. And in that planning, there was such a spirit of love. A deep love that drew forth both laughter and tears and shared experiences. a love that spoke of a woman who lived a vibrant life, lived to its fullest. In her memorial notice in the papers, it read, "Marjorie lived a life that was extraordinary full. She approached every day with genuine curiosity, grace, and love, and a true zest for travel and adventure." I heard Stu and their family time and time again mention how important her relationships and friendships were in her life, and you all are a testimony. You all are a testimony to that friendship. I heard about lifelong friends from college. I read about her being a Girl Scout leader and that shuttle driver for those daily swim practices and music lessons. I knew about her bridge circles and her book ladies, and how those friendships, these friendships, deepened her relationship with this community of faith here in Bridgewater, working at the TAG cell and on our board of memorials, and I know I'm missing a bunch. But speaking of her bridge games, I had heard she loved the game, but what I didn't know was how important it was for her to find the perfect linen for the table that they would gather around. Until I found her one day, I was in my office, found her one day rooting through the church's tag sale items. We were about ready to put that tag sale out, and she was looking through all those linens that she had donated to the church when they moved out of their house. And I was gifted this joy-filled smile when she found that exact linen she was looking for, and then she just rushed out the door so that she could get ready for the bridge game that she was hosting. I giggled quite a bit and told Ashley about it as well, so she got to share in that with me. But that shows some dedication to linens and bridge. As I have lately learned, Marge loved her linens. Jean Jusko the other day shared how Marge always had the best linens, each a treasure that she shared with the church, each with a story that she would share about their significance. In fact, I learned that Marge loved antique linen so much that she made a business out of her passion. The Linen Ladies, am I correct? And for 30 years, she maintained this business, and in doing so became a highly reputable and sought-after speaker and contributor of fine antique shows across the country. When I called Stu shortly after finding out Marge had passed away, one of his first comments was what a unique but loving relationship Marjorie and him shared. Stu and Marjorie had met as teenagers, but as life goes, they ended up going their separate ways, only to find their way back to each other to enjoy over 28 years, right, of marriage. But love for Marjorie was evident in all the conversations I've had with her children, her husband, and her friends. Her family described her as a light in our life, and that she lived an incredible life focused on others that she sought to teach to her children. They spoke of how important it was for her to look for the joy and positivity in life. And for her, one of the most important aspects of life was found in the value of relationships and forming deep friendships and connecting with others and sharing community. On Thursday, the book group and tag cell ladies gathered together in honor of Marjorie, and I asked Jean again if she would be willing to share a few thoughts and stories from that gathering. What was gifted to me and the thoughts and memories shared was a spirit of love, of friendship, and community. They spoke of listening intently to Marjorie as she told stories of travel in Europe, England, of her searching for and collecting her fabulous linens in England and then selling them up and down the East Coast at high-end shows. Of how Marjorie was a book unto herself, and how the book ladies loved to read books that had a main character much like their beloved friend. And then with Marjorie explaining the details and nuances they found within the pages of the book. One of their favorite stories to hear were of her 1950s adventures in London with all the bombed-out buildings around her. They spoke of how she was never afraid and always ready for a new experience. She was their teacher, their storyteller, making their humble lives magical and elegant. In remembrance of her presence at our tag sales, they spoke of how her quiet insistence on how to set up the linens extended over all the tag sale, and how they all had to keep up with her. There was so much love, honor, and respect lifted up as they considered all those things she did that most would never have considered. One voice lifting up that Marjorie was like a brave goddess from another time. Marjorie lived a life that was extraordinary full, a light within our lives that will continue to shine bright as we continue to share our stories and embrace the joy, the love, and friendship that she gifted us. As I gathered with her family, her daughter Jillian, I believe you brought this up, offered us this poem by David Harkins. So I offer you these words. You can shed tears that she is gone, or you can smile because she has lived. You can close your eyes and pray that she will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that she has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see her, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember her and only that she is gone, or you can cherish her memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what she would want. Smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. Amen. What a perfect song. We move now into this time of celebration and remembrance, and we have some family members and some friends who are going to start us off with those memories. We pause here in this time to gather our feelings and thoughts, to remember the person that Marge was and continues to be, and how she touched our lives and our lives touched her life, to meditate upon the meaning of this occasion and to say our farewell. As I have family come up here first, how we will do this is we'll allow the space for the family to speak their words, to be present. Chris will be the first of the friends to speak. You good with that? And then as Chris gathers up here, I'll be inviting someone else to be prepared. So we kind of have this smooth little cycle of folks coming up. So if you know you want to speak, start thinking of those words, maybe jot a couple things down, and be ready to raise that hand. Are we all good with walking up here to the pulpit? It's going to be the loudest space for us to be. All right.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me in the back? Yes? Okay. I'm Annie. I'm Stu's daughter and Marjorie's daughter. Marjorie always told me I was her third daughter. My brother Richard is here today. Our brother Danny, who passed away years ago, was also Marjorie's son, as Richard is Marjorie's son. And we're all Marjorie's children. Richard wrote the bulk of this piece that I'm going to read. It's 4 pages of memory. It'll go quick, I promise. Don't worry. But I hope I don't stumble too much. For Marjorie. When I was 8 years old, I wrote a note to my dad as he was taking a nap, which, as many of you who know my dad, you know he loves his naps. So he'd already started taking naps when I was 8 and probably before, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am now. But the note said, "If you die, I will cry, but not that long." He still has this note, I'll tell you. I think that Marjorie liked that sentiment. She felt deeply, and she lived at full speed ahead. Stop to cry, just not that long. Stu and Marjorie could be a fairy tale. They met in 1946. They shared their first kiss. Marjorie was Dad's first love. They were true friends, and they loved each other. Dad's senior year at Wesleyan, he invited her to his senior prom, and she went. And there was a time back then that they almost got married. Fate intervened, and they each followed their own different paths. They each had to find themselves, take their own steps, and make their own lives. They each raised beautiful families full of love, sadness, joy, and pain. They exchanged Christmas cards through the years, and after their prior marriages ended, they finally came into the fullness of their lifelong love for each other. Marjorie made the difficult decision to leave Rochester and adopt the loving church family here in Bridgewater. At 60 years old, Stu and Marge picked up where they left off and made a life and home that became a mantle for the entire extended Rapp family. Stu helped Marjorie to be grounded. Marjorie helped Stu to fly. They complemented each other in their most beautiful ways with their lovely traditional home in Bethel, with delicious leg of lamb dinners with butternut squash and broccoli, her favorite vegetable, and always a delicious dessert, ice cream a lot of the time. Special family visits and gatherings were more sparkling because Marjorie was there, always interested in what we were doing, listening and helping and guiding in her way. Richard remembers a couple of classic Marjorie moments, like the time he had a dream of attending law school. She made a bag to collect all returnable cans and lovingly wrote "Law School Fund" on the outside of the bag. Or when he finally decided to become a stockbroker for his birthday, she gave him 10 shares of Con Edison stock so that he would have his own little account. It was a generous, generous gift, worth $300 at the time, and today that account is worth $3,000. Marge was active in her linen business, but always made sure to be in our lives here at the church and with our families and friends. We got to enjoy her lovely antique shows with her classy display tables filled with gorgeous linens, precious books, and antiques. She made several trips with Stu and on her own to visit me and my family in California. Margie, as I began to call her within the last few years, was so integral in maintaining close connections with us, even as we'd been separated physically by a continent. Her effervescent smile, her smiling eyes, her lovely caring ways will be fondly remembered by all of us gathered here today. Most of all, it was the love for Stu that always shone through right up until her last day here with us. We are all so thankful to have been blessed with her loving touch as our sweet Mama Marjorie. Thank you.
Great job, Papa. Great job.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Cavella. I'm a very lucky person to have had Margie in my life. And many times she told me that I was like her fourth daughter. And God bless you, Stephanie and Jillian and Annie and Richie and Stu. God bless you. She will always be with us forever. My Margie. I met this spectacular lady numerous years ago. Right away, we connected with our mutual curiosity for gardening, American history, which definitely included linens and tapestries, from hers from England and from mine from Norway, and our love for music and travel. We were partners in our bell choir. She would tap on my leg for the beat during practice because she refused to reveal to anyone else that she had a difficult time hearing from our bell choir director as to the next measures we would be working on. So many times, she and I also sat together in the same pew, right over there, during church service because our husbands were in the choir together, and we were choir widows together for many years. When Margie and Stu asked me to sell their precious home, the Hoyt House, on Milwaukee Avenue in Bethel, I was deeply honored. I put my heart and soul into selling their gorgeous historical home. Stress normally escalates with listing a home, as you can imagine. However, our very close bond eased all the anxiety. What fun we all had together. The numerous stories of the history of the home together they shared with me. I let them know they had an amazing home, but I also wanted them to know they had a home of love. And all of their children came together, and we worked together, and we formed such a wonderful friendship and bond, and I finally got the sisters and brother I always wanted. We were so fortunate to have several bidders fighting for the privilege to own their spectacular home. Oh my goodness, all those FaceTime calls we had together so Margie could read my lips during this transaction. And she just had so much fun with this. God bless her. She was a true perfectionist in every way. I found the new home that Margie and Stu recently moved to. She was so delighted to find her new home. She literally danced a jig when she walked over the threshold at Heritage Village. She could not wait to share her home with her lovely book ladies. And she was ready to start with the bridge group the day that they moved in. She couldn't wait to find that group. The look on her face was spectacular. I was always enlightened by her. She was so smart. She shared with me the amazing stories of Stu's and Marge's life and their precious blended family, especially during all those lunches at Maggie McFly's and Panera's that we had together. She loved her roast beef and Diet Cokes all the time. I've gotten to know each of their precious children, and they're absolutely amazing. We've become so close in many ways. Margie and I had an incredible connection, my incredible dear sweet buddy. She loved children so much, and she was so excited for me when I became a grandma 3 years ago. She gave me her baby. Margie can hear, yes, she can hear that. She did this for levity, I know that. I know she's winking at me right now. She gave me her baby high chair, which my precious granddaughter Livy loves. Whenever we make cookies or treats together, Livy hops on Margie's chair, as she calls it. Margie will be in our family forever. I loved Margie's quiet charm, her sassiness, her love for others, sharing life together, the amazing stories she shared with me, and her spectacular love for everyone, which was priceless. Her dear, precious Stu was the most amazing captain of her ship. She absolutely adored him. I will always hold Margie so close to my heart. Thank you.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Chris. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Stephanie. I'm the youngest, and I'm the fast-talking Yankee that if you haven't met me yet, I'm that person. So, Mom, for you, I will speak slowly and distinctly. And if I could stare at your face, I would. I, of course, am not, again, if you know me, I am the procrastinator in the family, so I don't have the 4 pages written down as I should, so I will come to you, and Abby said a lot of things, and so did Annie, and so did Chris, of things that were all in my notes in my mind to say. But I wanted to share something in the beginning and Stu, I'm going to be taking some of your words, I hope you don't mind. But kind of where all of you in the church that knew Marge, Mom, before she had her horrible accident with her leg, she was a very upright, very mobile individual. And we were getting prepared for her 80th birthday party. And it was one where we were very grateful, and I loved it because her friends were our friends, and so many that even though they were 80, it felt like they were 40, and they partied like they were 40. But Stu sent us this top secret, eyes only classified letter to the girls. But in there, I thought he had the most perfect synopsis of Mom, and talking about that this day and time would have marked the signal event in history of civilization, if not in the world, namely the birth of that redoubtable and ever-lovable beautiful girl, mighty and still beautiful woman, spouse, homemaker, mother, swimming coach wannabe, Christian adherent, business founder, CEO, COO, CFO, CJ, chief janitor, antique linen scholar, acquirer, preparer, and dealer, step and much loved, stepmother, step-grandmother, a tennis nut. She used to play, then she, of course, overtook the TV every time there was a match. Golf appreciator, which prior in life people would think she would hate golf, but she actually loved it. Bridge fiend, puzzle solver, both on paper and in life. A faithful and constant friend, and highly specialized chocolate lover, which is apparently in our genes. Yes, the unique, unrepeatable, and utterly ineffable Marjorie Wilson Silver Burriack. And I thought that really summed up Mom in so many ways. But listening to all of you today, and Abby, to your point, is the gift that I take, and I know my sister takes today, is this is the gift of Marjorie. And I swore I wouldn't cry. Is all of you and the community that's here and the community that's on Zoom. And I know we all have friends from around the country that are watching as well. Friends that are going to be turning their 89 down in Florida that are still Mom's friends from her Andover and Wells days, at her core of, friendships that, we love to, share the bubbly with, because they were from some partiers. But Mom was, and I'm sorry, I'm the girl that uses the phone for her notes. But Mom was about community, and Mom was about connection. And I think that you see that here in this room. But the other gift that Mom left my sister and I is, and somebody said to us recently, sorry about that, is after having lost our father last year, and now Mom this year, is, and it was meant in the spirit of love, is that you feel like an orphan. And I said, for a second I thought, am I an orphan? And, the reality is no, I could not be any less of an, good Lord, I could not be any less of an orphan, and neither could my sister. We've been blessed with several families. The Becker family, and which is here with us today, and Susan, I hope you're online, and all of their kids and grandkids and nephews and nieces. Of course, the Burriack family, which, cannot be here today, but Valerie and John and her other niece, Claudia and Walter, and her predeceased nephews as well. But she was very attached and close to the Burriack family, and, that's not often the case when you, transition your lives over the years. And she held on to those. Those relationships were precious to her. But then the Rapp family. So what my sister and I, of course, did not bring to the table were grandchildren. There's a four-legged pooch, but she never met her yet. But we didn't bring the grandchildren. And so what Mom got as a blessing, of course, the two that are sitting here with Ben and Evan, the two you have out there in Austin and Alden, and Nathan down in Maryland, is that extended family that we have. And that's the blood family. Then we have the family that Mom made up here. And Mom had a gift, and she had the true gift of gab. And if you let me continue much longer, you see I got the gift of gab too. But she mastered the art of conversation at a young age. And she knew how to engage with anyone, whether you were her 88 years old or she was 8 years old. And she was relatable, and she stayed relatable her entire life. And the jokes that we made when, of course, as we were all coming into the age of iPhones and everything else, and she's a parent saying, put your phone down. It's dinner time, put your phone down. And we've got her, trying to take a picture. Then all of a sudden, here's Mom with her phone, and because it's attached to her hearing aids and her Bluetooth, the phone is dinging every time there's a stock market notification or there's an Amazon shipment's coming through, and it's going off in her ear, and she's like, and we're like, Mom, put the phone down, put the phone down. She's like, oh no, I have a message. And it's, no, you don't, Mom. It's us now, so put your phone down. But she stayed relatable because that was the only way to connect with her family and friends as she lost her hearing. And as much as I love the fact that, yes, please speak slowly and distinctly and look at her, she also truly, when it came especially to me, is that she had very selective hearing. If she didn't like my chat, all of a sudden she's very, very deaf. And, please say it again, slow down. And I'm like, you heard me. You just didn't like it. But the land and peace and travel was the other part that I think she bestowed upon my sister and I. And that, I think, started with her mother and her sister, and with Carolyn and Bud leading the way and helping Marjorie see the world. And not only between the family trips that she had taken together, her attachment and affiliation with Santa Fe, with Amagansett, now in Florida, even though it's hot and sweaty down there, with Maine, which she adored Maine, but also the UK. And for those of you who have spent your time listening to her stories about linens, is the bulk of the linens she bought were in the UK. And Mom lived an amazing life that after she graduated college, she had the blessing to live in the UK for several years and found a family over there and I believe they're online today, the Kinsey family, who now the next generation and second generation are still as close to our family as they were before. And the trips that my sister and I were blessed to take with Mom on separate mother-daughter trips to England is seeing that country through her eyes and the attachment to the country. And she just had, I of course am the spoiled one, and so I'm wanting to stay in a hotel. And she's like, I need to stay in so-and-so's home. Everywhere she went, she made a friend, and that friend would say, you need to stay with me. And that was not only across the world, the country, anywhere she went, the linens and everything else. But linens meant a lot different to me. Linens for me were a punishment. If any of you have seen those tablecloths that are out there, the ones you wanted to find, and Anna, I know you've had your pleasure of dealing with the linens. If you remember those lovely ironing boards that would fit in the wall and kind of spill down out of the wall, no more than 3 feet, our punishment, if we sassed back, would be we had to iron those things with starch from top to finish with no wrinkles, no creases, to make sure they're perfect on a 16-foot thing on a 3-foot ironing table. So when she said, what kind of linens do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, 0. Nothing. And when you told the story about the fact she came in to pick out a linen, I think I was with Chris, and we had stopped by here, and she was going through the table of linens that were donated, and I'm like, and she's picking things up. I said, put it down. Put it down. You're not taking it home. We had just cleaned out the house, and so, but she was affiliated to it. She couldn't let go of it. But I think the part that means the most to me is seeing the love of friendship that she has gained through all of you, and the family that she has through all of you, and that I take, and even though I'm only here on Christmas, I'm sorry, but it's once a year, but I felt a community here myself, coming in and recognizing people over the years, that you have enveloped Mom and Stu, and of course Stu was here and brought Mom into the fold, but to Annie, Rich, Ben and Evan, Stu, you're our family, you're not going anywhere, okay? And Beckers, okay, it's time for the reunion. But it's been a lovely, lovely life with my mother. And I can tell a whole lot more. It's time to end my speech, I'm sure. But she made me laugh. She was the one I like to giggle with. We love to have our champagne, our Prosecco. For me, it might have been a vodka cocktail, but you know, she wanted her bubbles. And she never shied away from having that and enjoying life and sharing and toasting each other. So in that invisible toast to all of you today is that toast to all of you as friends, to Marjorie, for loving her, for accepting her and welcoming her into your life here. Thank you on behalf of my sister and I. So there you go. That's it.
Great job.
That's yours.
We come to this time in which I offer you all an opportunity to speak today. We will have a movement. So I know Helen had already tagged me earlier, so we'll start with Helen. And if we have the next person just ready to come up here from Helen. Yeah, all right. We'll do 1, 2, 3. So just be ready as Helen's finishing to start walking up here. Helen, are you comfortable coming up here? Okay.
Hi, my name is Helen Jackson, and first of all, I want to tell you what a great group of people you are. And do you know that Marjorie's up there, and she's looking down, and she's so happy now. Yes. Can you imagine how happy she is?
Yes.
Marjorie was an angel, a perfect angel, and I thank God for letting us have her as long as we did. And she was just a wonderful person. And the only thing I want to say, Stu, is she's still up there, but she loves you like crazy. She loves all of us. Like, she got me to join the church years ago, her and Iola Witten and Carl Witten. And I've been to the church ever since. I love my church, and I love all you people. And I'm so glad you came today because she's up there looking down, and she's so happy, happy, happy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen. That is beautiful. Oh, I love that.
Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Nathan. I'm one of Marjorie's grandsons. I've known Marjorie since I was obviously a little kid. My first memories of her are playing Scattergories and Pictionary in my house. She was always really good at it. I remember her making fun of my best friend Enzo because we were playing a game, Scattergories, and the letter he had to come up with the word for was N, and he wrote nothing. Sorry for that. Sorry for the laughing. But that just emphasized what it was like. Marjorie just got a kick out of that, and she couldn't stop making fun of him for that. Her love of England, I know that. She shared that with me too, as well. I went to study at Cambridge after my first year of college, and I remember she gave me a little care package. It was a little leather pouch that she had filled with pounds and shillings and 10 pieces and all sorts of different coins that I could use. I think it was like $20 worth of money, and it really helped me out because it took me like 3 or 4 days to find an exchange place to make money there. So if it weren't for her, I definitely would have gone hungry the first week or so in Cambridge. The next story I have, of course, is with the linens, which I've heard a lot of you guys talk about. I was basically her personal porter. Every time she came down to the Maryland area, she would conscript me to come and carry endless boxes, of which every single one had an exact, precise location that it had to be in, and if it wasn't there, take it out and do it again. She would always take me out for dinner afterwards with Papa Stu. And that's actually one of my funniest memories of Marjorie is how darn picky she was about her eating. We went to a lunch at Dave & Buster's once, and I remember she ordered a cheeseburger, and the first time it came, it was not mooing, so she had to send it back. The second time it came, still not mooing, still not red, sent back again. The third time, same thing. So the general manager had to come out and he assured her, I promise you I will cook this cheeseburger right for you this time. And even the manager himself was unable to meet her perfect standards. So I think she just ended up settling for that cheeseburger, but I know she was not happy about it. Last summer, we got to visit Marjorie. That was the last time I saw her. We brought some fireworks. It was the 4th of July. I just remember how much fun she was having just with our little fireworks show in the backyard. And I was tasked with cooking cheeseburgers for the family, and I must admit, I did not make it mooing. I also failed her. So if I ever see you again, Marjorie, I promise I'll make that cheeseburger right for you. And then we took a trip up to the farm to see the cows, and Marjorie insisted on driving us up there, even though it's only like, a 3-minute walk. She's like, no, come on, hop in. You're all getting in the SUV, and we're going to see the cows. So we went to go see the cows, and I'm stealing this from my girlfriend, Amanda, but my girlfriend asked Marjorie, why do cows moo? And Marjorie just looked at her dead in the eyes and said, why do you speak? So anyways, we love you, Marjorie, and I'm sure we'll see you again one day. Thank you.
Thank you, Nate.
As we have our next speaker come up, is there another one who would like to follow?
Hi, I'm Robin Becker-Ide, part of the Becker clan. I have known Margie my entire life, 70 years. And I'm laughing at these stories because Margie was just kind of like a thorn in our side. She would travel to our house. But anyway, Margie and I sort of grew up together. We evolved over many things every year. I knew her when she was single. I knew her when she brought her boyfriends home. She used to be our babysitter. And boy, was she a lousy cook. And then I knew her when she got married to your dad, Jill and Stephanie. And I also knew her in her afterlife of that with Stu. And it was so nice to see her as happy. I know she used to come in, visit Chris and I all the time. We lived in Northern Virginia, we've lived in Florida, we lived in Maine. So we got Margie at all spots. Sometimes for linen and things, or linen ladies, and sometimes just because she wanted a place to stay or she wanted some good food. We totally enjoyed every visit we ever had of her, and she's a bean bridge player. I've played with her. She taught me many of things. Used to get frustrated with anything because I'm left-handed and I couldn't do it. But she was always an endearing part of our family, from family holidays to always being a presence in my children's lives and my grandchildren, and always a smile on the face. And she became sort of like a confidant, and Kathy and I were talking this about a while ago, because she wasn't my parent. She certainly wasn't old enough to be my aunt. So we always had these great conversations about life, and I used to get all the gossip from all the families whenever Margie came to visit. But the last time she was visiting us, I was in Florida and also in Maine. And I've never seen your mom so happy over all the years since she met Stu. And Stu, you've been a wonderful addition to the Becker family. We have enjoyed you constantly. And I asked Margie again when I was up in Maine, she's smiling, and you know, I'm like, please watch those stairs, watch those stairs. And she's running up those stairs. And I said, Margie, are you really happy? She says, oh, I have lived a wonderful life. I fell in love with a wonderful man, and he treats me so well. So thank you, Stu. But I have one story for the Margie remembrance to make it kind of funny, or two. She used to do all these things. Every time she would see me, she'd bring me linens. I'm like, I don't iron. I use the washing machine. What is this stuff? So when Chris and I got married, let alone our wedding gift, was hand towels with "I'd" on it that were linens. I think they're still in the box. But I had some recently I just gave to a friend of mine that has dogs, and she also bakes bread. So now she's using it for the dogs and the bread. And then we had a story about a sweater. Margie with all of her knitting, and I'd try to do it, and I just like turn it upside down. I'd be all backwards like this. She couldn't figure it out, but she made me this absolutely gorgeous sweater one year. I must have been in high school. And that sweater went from many houses for me. It was always the thing that went in the moving boxes wherever I was. And one time in Virginia, it snowed so bad, and it was so cold. I said, where's that sweater? I got that sweater on, and I wore it proudly. It was nice and warm. But it got some spots on it. Next thing we know, it got into the laundry machine and the dryer, and now the sweater is like this big. And I said, oh, I got kids. Here, daughter, my Courtney's 40, and the other one is, like, 30-something. And so it got passed down to both of the kids. And now my grandchildren had it for a little while, but now it's just a traveling sweater, just like Margie was. And we love her, and we will always think of her with a bright smile.
Very beautiful.
Do we have any on Zoom today who would like to speak? If so, go ahead and take yourself off of mute, and we can all hear you. I don't see any movement. All right. Anybody else who decided after that one that you would like to come and speak? My goodness gracious. See, I knew that the little bit I knew about Marjorie, I would know so much more. And you could just feel that love, right? That life that poured forth in, especially your two, Annie and Stephanie, my goodness, and Rich, I know, and Jillian, you and Stu, all your voices were present in that. And for me, it's such a gift to listen and to learn a little bit more, because I get to celebrate that life all the more because of you all. So thank you all for sharing. Each one was a gift to me today, and I know it's a gift to everybody here. And Marjorie's spirit is present among us. So thank you. Tom, I'm like, I figured you were the gentleman I met earlier, so.
Hi.
Tom Gallagher, and obviously from...
Oops. No, let me turn it back on. You don't want my feedback, so there you go.
That's better. I'm Tom Gallagher, and obviously from all the conversation, Marjorie's touched people in all corners of the earth, it seems. To do that, and my wife Lorraine and I are here representing the Rochester contingent to do that. And it was 30 years ago that just about 30 years ago, almost 3 decades, that I met Stu, as when Marjorie began their new life in Rochester at their wedding, to do that. And when I heard that Marjorie had passed away, I kept thinking, like, what was it I was going to miss most about Marjorie? And one word came to me, and it was curiosity. And I realized that every conversation I ever had with her, she was curious about what you were doing, what was coming next, and she always had something new to tell me, something I did not know before. And I knew that I would miss that. So I was looking for some words to share that sort of embodied that curiosity. And I certainly didn't craft them myself, but I found a Vietnamese monk that wrote something that really made me think of what Marjorie was curious about her next steps now, how she wants to be remembered, and maybe how she's going to continue to connect with all these people here today. The journal entry was called When My Mother Died by Thich Nhat Hanh. The day my mother died, I wrote in my journal, "A serious misfortune in my life has arrived. I suffered more than 1 year after the passing away of my mother. But one night, in the highlands of Vietnam, I was sleeping in the hut in my hermitage. I dreamed of my mother. I saw myself sitting with her, and we were having a wonderful talk. She looked young, beautiful, with her hair down, flowing. It was so pleasant to sit there and talk with her as if she had never passed away. When I woke up, it was about 2 in the morning. I felt very strongly that I had never lost my mother. The impression that my mother was still with me was so very clear. I understood that then the idea of having lost my mother was just an idea. It was obvious in that moment that my mother is always alive in me. I opened the door and I went outside. The entire hillside was bathed in moonlight. It was a hill covered with tea plants, and my hut was set behind the temple halfway up. Walking slowly in the moonlight through the rows of tea plants, I noticed my mother was still with me. She was the moonlight caressing me as she had done so often, very tender, very sweet. It was wonderful. Each time my feet touched the earth, I knew my mother was there with me. I knew this body was not mine, but a continuation of my mother and my father, my grandparents, my great-grandparents, all of my ancestors. Those feet that I saw as my feet were actually our feet. Together, my mother and I were leaving footprints in the damp soil. From that moment on, the idea that I had lost my mother no longer existed. All I had to do was look at the palm of my hand, feel the breeze on my face, the earth under my feet, to remember that my mother is always with me, available at any time. That made me think of Marjorie.
Beautiful. Beautiful, Tom. Oh, nice.
Nadine, Larry, Chris, Maggie, choir. Beautiful, beautiful music today. Thank you for sharing with us and with the family. In opening, I said that death has brought us together. Yes and no. For we have also been brought together by life, Marjorie's life that touched each of you in some way. And we have been brought together by life's greatest expression, love. Love for Marjorie and also for her family. This occasion brings us to what sometimes feels like the edge of the abyss. But it also opens life to us. This moment is filled with meaning we bring to it, a meaning that has swelled this day among us through shared grief, but more through the concern and love for one another. We have found one another and have discovered something of the blessed healing that we can do for each other. But let us be mindful of those who bear the greatest burden of grief for Marjorie's death today. Her family, her children, her grandchildren, for all those who are gathered today, but especially for Stu. Stu, our hearts reach out to you and we find ourselves feeling deep within that which is beyond words. Yet, let these words presume to speak the unspeakable. We who are here and those who are absent and thinking of you now feel for you and offer our love so that you are not alone at this time of great loss. We have come together as a community, a family of friends of faith. We give thanks for the life of Marjorie, and we give thanks for her ways that brought friendship and concern and love that filled our lives. May we mourn her death. May we who mourn her death be granted the gifts of understanding and acceptance, and may we truly find the sense of thanksgiving for a good, virtuous life lived well and fully. We give thanks that Marjorie was and is a part of our common life. The truth of her life endures, for it is woven into the fabric of the larger life of which we all are a part. And now, as we remember and we bid when we have loved and held dear adieu, let us be confident and trusting that human life is full of meaning and purpose, even in death. For a human life is sacred. It is a sacred thing. It is sacred in its beginning. Its span of years is sacred, and its ending is sacred too. So let Marjorie's name be inscribed on the tree of life forever. If you're comfortably able, I invite you to stand in body or spirit as I offer these last words. A reminder to join us for a time of continuing this sharing and celebrating a life lived well over in our fellowship space. A human life is holy, for it comes from God and returns to God. A human life is holy in its becoming. A human life is holy in its living. A human life is holy in its dying. Though our sorrow is great, we are glad that Marjorie's life filled our lives and enriched our common world. with thought and word, with love and laughter. May we never forget Marjorie's friendly and kindly ways, as well as her passions and concerns. May Marjorie live in eternity's embrace forever. It is never easy to say a final goodbye, but now we must. So with heavy hearts, but with true joy that Marjorie lived and loved, we entrust Marjorie Wilson Burriack to the care of God's eternity. And as we say goodbye to one we hold dear, be our confidence and our trust, O God of life and death. We are gathered in the presence of a deep and abiding mystery. With humble hearts, we bow before the veil which has fallen between us and the one we loved. Let none fear, for greater than sorrow is love, which endures through pain and conquers even death. Love binds all hearts in bonds of fellowship and courage. They who love unselfishly face even the depths with courage, for their strength is the strength of many, and their courage rests upon the love of friends. And now, may the peace which passes understanding, the peace which comes with acceptance and thanksgiving, the peace of the Spirit which rises above all strains of the earth, be and abide with us all, both this day and forevermore. Amen. Please join with us over in the fellowship, please.